Priya Pais, a pediatric nephrologist from St. John's Medical College in Bangalore, India.
I am Larry Greenbaum. I'm a pediatric nephrologist at Emory University and Children's Healthcare of Atlanta in Atlanta, Georgia.
So I sought the mentorship program because I was junior to mid-level faculty at the time, and I had a specific goal of moving my clinical research forward, and also needed some mentorship with scientific writing.
I joined the mentorship program because I've always enjoyed mentoring trainees and faculty in the United States, and the opportunity to mentor someone overseas was very appealing to me because I really like the idea of giving back to people in other parts of the world.
So my mentee perspective, I think we began by getting in touch, and I really discussed what area I needed mentorship in, and then we together came up with a game plan on what to get started with. And I think just beginning and taking it forward and completing one project that was a paper it worked really well. And then we went on to the next thing and the next thing, and I think it worked really well because Larry was always accessible by email, even though he's in a totally different part of the world, and was always available to meet online, even though it was 4 a.m. for him. And so I think this fact that I could always rely on him to get back to me. And from my part, I think what I thought was important for myself to do was to actually have a very clear agenda for each meeting that I set up with Larry, and I tried to prepare what I would discuss and be ready for even a short meeting to really have a specific outcome.
Priya did a wonderful job of, at the beginning of the relationship, telling me what she wanted to accomplish and outlining her goals. And I think that was really helpful in setting the stage for the mentorship relationship because we both knew what she wanted out of the relationship. The other strengths of the relationship that I think made it so successful was the fact that Priya really drove the relationship, which is what a mentee ideally does. She came to me when she had questions. She came to me when she had the need for discussion, and then when we would meet, she would have a very set series of topics that she wanted to cover, and we could go through them systematically. So the time we spent together was incredibly productive. It wasn't, sitting around sort of wondering what we're going to talk about. Priya knew exactly what we were going to talk about. And I think from a mentor standpoint, I think if people are thinking about being a mentor, it's very important that they realize that it is a commitment and it is a time commitment. And we're all short of time. But for me, this relationship always had high priority, and I would set other things aside to make sure that we met promptly and that I read things promptly. And I think that helped to drive it forward. I think the fact that we had success early, I shouldn't say we had success, Priya had success, and I had a small contribution, but I think that helped enable us to move on to future projects with greater confidence.
I had gained a lot from, I think, Larry's wisdom and perspective, and I think really valued his opinion on what my focus could be when it looked like I had a lot of different ideas. And so I think for me that was very valuable. I came to Larry to really begin writing, and I think Larry helped me every step of the way, and including showing me how to write the different parts of the paper. I think Larry, you edited everything, you looked at it, you gave me feedback, and even sort of guided me on how to respond to reviewers. And I actually use that template until today. So that two papers, and I think I applied for an ISN grant, which you gave me very valuable advice on. And now that results from that grant study are now being written up for publication. And even though maybe I don't come to you as often, but I still very much value your mentorship.
For me, it was just incredibly fulfilling to see all that Priya accomplished. I provided some guidance, but she advanced and was doing things that I didn't know how to do, for example, qualitative research. And while I could provide some perspective, she acquired an expertise that I didn't have. And it was just so satisfying to see her continuing to grow and expand what she was able to do in clinical research. And it's especially fulfilling to see that she's now serving as a mentor, and I think giving back to others. And that's nice to see our efforts together really multiply and not only support Priya's development, but starting to support the development of others.
I think from the perspective of somebody who is seeking mentorship when you're applying as a mentee, I think it's important to identify clearly what you want from the mentorship and express that so that you can be matched properly with the right person. And I think, like we've been saying, it's very important for the mentee to drive it. And so you have to be willing to take the partnership seriously and responsibly always close the communication loop, and take every interaction with the mentor as a meeting. And I think in my mind, when it's a meeting, then I always found it very useful to have an agenda and close the meeting and then follow up after the meeting with the next steps. And so with this sort of serious approach, you should be able to achieve some outcomes, which is really encouraging and helps you take the next steps forward. So that would be my advice.
For the mentor, I think first one must make sure that one can provide the mentorship that the mentee needs. And so it's very important that the goals of the relationship are very clear to both people. Ideally, before you apply for the program, it's obviously doesn't make sense to apply if there's not going to be a good match in terms of skill sets and what the mentee would like to accomplish. I think ongoing discussions of the mentee's goals are critical to make sure that the mentee is achieving what the mentee wants to achieve and not what you think the mentee wants to achieve. I also, it's critical that the mentor understand that this is a time commitment, and it's time sensitive time commitment. It's not something that can be delayed for 3 months because you're too busy. And so I think a mentor must really think about that before making this commitment, because the mentee is going to put way more effort into this than the mentor. And if the mentor doesn't come through and provide timely advice and guidance and the skills that the mentee needs, then it's really not fair to the mentee.